do certain things or you take on extra tasks because you're people pleasing. But that ain't self-love. Yeah, good day, good people. It's Chantel Sarita giving you all of the positive vibes. I am live from Florida today. I am out here with my boyfriend and my best friend. My best friend just had a baby girl. She just had a baby girl, my god baby. So I came out here to help support her through this time, helping her welcome her new baby girl into the world. So that's what I'm doing out here, and also spending time with my man because he does live in Florida, so long distance. Florida it's been great to me so far because it's super hot out here. It's really nice. It's a lot of plants, a lot of greenery that I'm not used to living in New York. So it's been really nice, like having that kind of escape. We road tripped here. It took us like 3 days, I think. I'm gonna insert some footage here. It took us like 3 days, I think, to get here. And we stopped at night. By the time it got dark, we would stop and then keep going the next day because we didn't want to get too much into it. But yeah, it's been really nice here. We didn't want to get too much into like dark time driving, nighttime driving. What is my language today? But yeah, so I've been pretty good out here. You know, there's a lot of things going on in the world, a lot of things going on with like just life in general. Everybody is feeling the intensity of the conditions in the United States with Black people and all of the different racial injustices that we face. And my experience has been really interesting while I've been in Florida because I've honestly been scared to walk around by myself. That should never be the case for anybody. And the fact that a Black woman, I identify as a Black woman, feeling afraid, I feel afraid to just walk around outside is just fucking problematic. I'm just gonna say it like that. It's fucking problematic. I shouldn't be afraid to walk down the street. I shouldn't have to change my clothes so that I don't feel like I'm gonna be perceived as this ghetto Black girl. It's fucked up. But that's not what this video is about. I wanted to talk more about self-love and loving on yourself. So that's what this video is actually about, but I just wanted to give you guys an update. Before I jump into that, I'm gonna light this thing. This is for like insects because there's a lot of freaking mosquitoes here and they like to eat me up. I get bit probably like 3, 4, 5 times a day. Maybe not that much, but I get bit at least 3 times a day. And this thing keeps insects away. I used it earlier when I did my self-care outside and it actually got the bugs away, but it smells like crap. It stinks, but whatever you gotta do, right? All right, so let's jump into it. I wanted to talk today about self-love. So that ain't self-love. When you talk about self-love, you also have to talk about what is not self-love. My experience with self-love comes from my deep need to people please. And I'm being very upfront and vulnerable right now because that is not something that I'm proud of, but it's something that, I told you the insects out here, don't be playing games. It's not something that I'm proud of, but it is something that is relevant to me. I consider myself a recovering people pleaser. So I've done things throughout my life in order to make sure everyone else around me is happy rather than focusing on myself. And, that having that habit is what brought me to my self-love routine that I have now. And it's become a routine. It's not something that I just do every once in a while. It's a consistent routine, and it's not easy all the time. Like, it's not like I want to get up and be like, I want to do this self-care routine. I want to do this morning self-hip care. I don't always want to do that shit, but I have to do it because it's a form of showing myself, giving myself what I need, loving on myself, right? So, but basically, you know how I do. I want to share my experience. I want to help you learn about yourself by listening to my story. So back in 2016, I was just finishing up school. I had just graduated a year prior to that with my master's degree, and I moved back to my parents' house. And at that time, it was really just difficult being a person. I know that sounds crazy, but I was always irritated. I was just like a miserable person, but I was really good at faking like I was happy. which is really sad. It's very jokerish of me. So I was really good at pretending like I was fine, but I was not fine, you know. I remember a lot of little things would irritate me, like, you know how it is when you live with your parents, y'all. We just don't keep it 100. Like, you were brought up to be a certain way, and then you eventually grow out of that. Like, you keep some of those things, but you also are your own person. So there's things that you want to do as your own person that your parents don't want you to do, because they're like, you're still my child, and you're like, but I'm 24, and they're like, but you're still my child, and you're like, but I'm not 10 no more. They don't hear you. So at some point you have to make a decision on what you're going to do. So for me, when I was living at home, my parents used to irritate me. I'm just gonna keep it 100 with you. They would do things that would make me irritable inside, but I wouldn't be able to say anything. It's what it felt like. I never had the space to say, like, I don't want to do that, or, you know, I'm not going to do that. And if I did say something, or if I did speak up, it would be backlash. It would be like, that was disrespectful. When really I was just trying to speak my piece and say what it is that, you know, was on my mind. If I could even do that, because it was very difficult. I didn't have the courage to do that at the time. So I remember just being irritated all the time. And I remember we had a Christmas party, and I said that I wanted to cook for this Christmas party. But when everybody came over, you know, as I was cooking, everybody just kind of joined in with the cooking, as if they didn't trust that I could do the dishes that I wanted to do. And it was like, you know how it is when there's a bunch of people in the kitchen cooking at the same time, and it's just like a bunch of chefs getting on each other's nerves, butting heads. That's what it felt like. And it felt like I was being told, because I was the youngest, it felt like I was being told what to do, which I was being told what to do. I was the youngest. Looking back at it now, I definitely know that's what it was. But that was irritating for me, because I was just always like, it was just always somebody telling me what I needed to do, telling me what I was supposed to be doing, telling me what was wrong, you know, and I never got a chance to actually express who I was. Like, this is the meal I want to make. This is the dish that I want to cook. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to live. This is how I want to clean the kitchen. This is how I'm going to cook my own dinner. This is how I'm going to clean the pots when I'm done. You know, finding my own way was very difficult while living with my parents. So it got to a point where I was just so annoyed all the time that I was like, look, check it out. After Christmas was over, after the whole situation happened, I was like, all right, I'm going to go book myself an Airbnb. I'm going to stay there for like 4 days. Don't contact me. I'm turning off my phone. And I may not have said this out loud, but I did say it, and I did do it. So I booked myself an Airbnb for 4 days, downtown Chicago. I lived in Chicago at the time, in the suburbs, and I booked a hotel, I booked the Airbnb like downtown, somewhere where there was like space to walk around outside, and like there was a jacuzzi, there was a pool, there was things that I could do to like give myself some self-love, some self-care that I really felt like I needed. So I did that. So I booked the Airbnb, and it wasn't just about, you know, getting in the hot tub and sleeping in and turning off my phone. Like, yes, those are forms of self-love, but self-love is also discipline. So while I was down there, I was waking up and I was meditating. I was doing 45-minute meditations. I was doing visualizations that were helping me to connect with my true self. You know, I was trying to find who Chantel is. I was working on my credit score so that I could, or working on my credit and like finding out, doing research so that I can improve it, so that I can move out of where I was. I feel like it's a little crooked. So that I can move out of my parents' house and find my own space. So self-love is not just about doing the things that you, indulging in things. It's also about that discipline. It's also about the things that you don't want to do, right? And even like setting boundaries. Like I was starting to learn, like, yo, I need to be able to say, no, I don't want to do that. No, I'm not going to do it this way. I'm going to do it this way. And that trip was the beginning of my self-love journey, truly. It definitely showed me, you know, through my meditations, it showed me who my true self was. And I was getting my first glimpse of that. I didn't have a full understanding yet, and I still think I'm still learning. But at that time, it began my journey of learning who Chantel is and what does she need, not what does everybody else need. Just like when you're on the airplane and they're like, when the masks come down, you have to grab it and you put it on your face first before you help someone else. You have to make sure that you're good before you can help anybody else. And this was me telling myself the same thing. Like, I have to make sure that I'm good before I can help my mom, before I can help my sister, before I can talk to my auntie about this, and that, before I can even start my day. I have to make sure that I'm good. So what I started doing after that, after I did that self-love trip, after I started, you know, learning more about myself and learning the boundaries that I needed to take, I wasn't doing the boundaries yet, but I was learning them. But after I did that, I began to figure out things that I needed to do in order to continue on with these self-love tactics that I was putting in place for myself. So I started getting up mad early because my parents would get up around like 9. I think my dad would get up and get ready for work and go to work early. So they would get up at like 8, 7 o'clock. My mom would get up and like make him breakfast, and my dad would get ready for work, and they would just, have their morning or whatever. So I wanted to be up and doing my thing before they got up, because I didn't want to hear anything from anybody before I heard anything from myself. So I would get up, you guys, at 4:30 in the morning. It was still dark. I would get up at 4:30 in the morning. I would meditate. I would go for a walk. I'm trying to remember the order I did it in because my morning routine now is a little bit different. But I would get up, I would meditate. No, I would go for a walk. I wouldn't even meditate first. I would get up, I would go for a walk. I would come back, I would meditate, I would read, I would have a cup of coffee, I would make breakfast. And then by the time I was doing all of that, that's when my parents were getting up. But by then I was set. I had set myself up. I did my self-love routine for that morning. I put that discipline in place so that I would actually get myself to get up and do these things, so that by the time my parents woke up and they had things to say to me, or we were conversing with each other, I was able to deal with that better. Because I tuned into Chantel first. I made sure she was good first. Once I started doing that, I started to notice a difference. Once I started putting in that discipline and I was able to get my credit score up and I was able to move, that's when the routine really started to roll out. I started learning more about myself. I need to set boundaries here. I need to say no more here. I need to make sure I do this, this, and that. I was learning more about myself after I started that self-love journey, that very first moment of me booking that Airbnb and taking 4 days just for myself. It didn't cost that much. It wasn't that far from me, but it was something that I really needed. So I made sure I did that for myself. And I'm so glad I did, because it really is, it's part of why I am where I am now and why my routine is what it is now. So my routine now, and then, self-love is not just about mornings. It's about the entire day, but I'm focused on morning right now because that's what I've noticed the biggest difference, in my day is when I do my morning routine. Now it helps me also implement, self-love tactics like setting boundaries with people throughout the day and learning to say no more. It helps me to do those things when I do set up my day this way. So this is what I do. Wake up in the morning, and I think I showed you guys, you can check out my morning routine actually, but I'm just gonna run through this real quick so if you didn't see that, or if you don't click on that video, which you should, you have a quick rundown. So I wake up in the morning, first thing I do is meditate. Because I don't want to start my day off with looking at my phone or even going for a walk and being around other people and that energy comes to me. I want to clear my slate and make sure that my space is protected before I start my day. So I do that first. Then I journal. So I want to journal any open-ended type of prompt, anything that's going on with me. I just want to write it down. I set an intention in my journal as I'm writing. What do you want to achieve, but what do you want to feel through your day? So today I wanted to have an easeful day of creativity because I knew I was going to be shooting this video. I just finished shooting some TikTok videos before this, and I knew I was going to be doing that. So my intent was to have an easeful day of creativity. And I'm feeling ease as I'm talking right now. So, setting intention is really powerful. As I'm doing that, I continue writing, and then I also do 5 things that I'm grateful for. Now, this kind of varies depending on my mood, but lately in my morning self-love sessions on Mondays at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I've been doing 5 moments of gratitude plus why. Why are you grateful for those things? So if you put a lot, right now, especially because of the times that we're in, my support system is super important. So I'm grateful for my support system without a freaking doubt. Every day I'm writing, almost every day I'm writing. Those are one of the things that I write. And under that I'm writing, I'm grateful for my support system because they have my back, I have theirs, all of the people who I care about and are close to me, we look out for each other, we're able to talk to each other and be there for each other, and you write out why you're grateful for that thing. Next, I read a few pages from a book, depending on how I'm feeling, how much time I have is how much I will read. But right now I'm reading 2 different books. I'm reading The 3 Questions by Don Miguel Ruiz, who also wrote The 4 Agreements, really good books. And then I'm also reading Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. Both really good books, different intentions, different vibes, but I try to give myself some type of inspiration in the morning before I start my day. once I'm done with that, I do my hip self-care routine, some type of like movement. Usually my hip self-care routine is, well, not usually, my hip self-care routine is to make sure that I feel like I can get through the day with no pain. If I don't do that, I can't even walk for extended amount of time. So one thing that I did when I was in that self-loathing phase of my life, when I was not giving myself the self-love, is I would ignore my hips. They would hurt. I'd be like, well, they hurt. I also didn't know what to do about it, honestly, but now that I know, I like, even when I don't want to do it, like I was saying before, sometimes I don't want to do the shits. But if I don't do it, I literally will be in pain and I'm just suffering. I'm causing myself to suffer. So that's not self-love. That ain't self-love. That's self-loathe. You know, and it's hard to say that shit because you're doing it to yourself. I'm doing it to myself, you know, when I don't do my self-care routine. And I still have moments and days where I'm like, fuck that, I'm not doing it today, or I'll do half of it. But for the most part, I've been pretty consistent and pretty strong with it, so I'm really proud of myself for that. Another form of self-love, just side note, is being compassionate to yourself. Like, it's okay when you don't want to do it some days, but still try your best. Try to do it. Try to get those things in that you need to do. Do your best. Do your best. Regardless of how you're feeling, do your best. Regardless of how good that is or where that is on the scale, your best every day can be here one day and here the next day. But every day you should do your best. That's also from the 4 Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz. Yeah, so after my self-care routine, it's pretty open, but that sets up my day for me to feel more ready, you know, ready to accomplish the day, more ready to go, you know, ready, more grounded, more protected, more safe in myself, more, I feel myself more, I'm checking in with myself. That's self-love. You know, self-love is not all going to the spa and being pampered and laying in bed all day. No, self-love, that ain't self-love. Well, it could be a form of self-love. But self-love is having the discipline, is taking care of your body even when you don't feel like it. It's getting up in the morning early as fuck to make sure that you're prepared and protected for the day. If you know that you got to go to a job that ain't shit, or you know you got to go to a job where you're going to be around a bunch of white people and you got to put on your cloak, you got to put on your happy face, you got to put on your protective gear, you need to get your ass up earlier and do it. You need to get your ass up earlier and do it, period. Because that's you loving on you, despite everybody else, right? You go to work, you do certain things, or you take on extra tasks because you're people pleasing. But that ain't self-love. Self-love is saying, no, I'm sorry, I'm not able to do that today. Self-love is going to work and saying, I'm not able to take on this extra task. Can you assign it to someone else? Self-love is taking a mental health break, taking a mental health day, taking a mental health week if you have to. Especially my black and brown people right now, because we are going through it, honey. It's okay to take time. That's self-love. Self-love is discipline. Self-love is telling yourself, all right, I don't feel like it, but I'm going to get up and clean this bathtub so I can take a bath because I need to soak my hips. That's self-love. So I hope this was some type of inspiring for you. I think it's really important to relate to each other, you know, in me sharing my story and hoping that you also feel something from that. I'm going to continue to try to be consistent. So shout out to my friend who hit me up and was like, yo, it's been 2 weeks. I appreciate you. That inspired me to get back on it. Yeah.
Skirt. Quick interlude. I wanted to tell you about my morning self-love sessions with Chantel. Every morning at 7 a.m. we meet up. You don't have to come dressed and ready to go. You can literally keep your camera off, wake up 5 minutes before and tune in. We do a meditation, we journal, we read, we get some inspiration for the day. We stretch, take some time to give our body some love. We do a little bit of a 2-step, real cute 2-step, nothing serious, just to get yourself started for the day. If you're interested in joining us in our morning self-love sessions, shoot me an email at chantelsarita@gmail.com and I'll make sure to get you registered. All right, back to it.
So, again, I hope this was some type of inspiring for you. I appreciate each of you in your own individual ways. I hope you implement some self-love for yourself today. Until next time.